The Gorton and Denton by-election is a victory. Yes, it's a victory for sectarian voting. It's a victory for cheating in elections.
In the early hours of the morning, a political earthquake struck the north of England. But it wasn't the result itself that sent shockwaves through the halls of Westminster. It was the spectacular, chaotic fallout that followed. Reform UK, the populist juggernaut promising to reshape British politics, suffered a crushing defeat in the Gorton and Denton by-election.
Hannah Catherine Spencer is duly elected Member of Parliament for the Gorton and Denton constituency.
They didn't just lose, they lost by a massive margin of over 4,000 votes. But instead of conceding with grace, the party's leadership hit the panic button. Within minutes, Nigel Farage was broadcasting to millions, screaming about cheating, sectarianism, and the collapse of Western civilization. 3 different leaders, 3 completely different stories, and a meltdown that is revealing the deep cracks inside Britain's most controversial political movement. How does a party that claims to represent the will of the people react when the people explicitly reject them? And more importantly, is this the beginning of the end for Reform UK, or the start of a dangerous new political playbook in Britain? To understand the panic, we have to look at the numbers. Gorton and Denton was supposed to be a 3-way knife-edge contest. It was Reform UK's chance to plant their flag deep into Labour's traditional northern heartlands. But the electorate had other plans. Hannah Spencer, the Green Party candidate, a local plumber and trainee plasterer, took the seat with nearly 15,000 votes. Reform's highly publicized candidate, academic-turned-populist Matt Goodwin, secured just 10,500. Labour limped into third place with 9,000. And the Conservatives? They suffered an outright humiliation, scraping together a mere 700 votes, less than 2% of the electorate, marking their worst by-election result in the party's entire history. A local plumber comfortably defeated the intellectual architect of modern British populism. In a functioning democracy, this is where the losing candidate shakes hands, regroups, and analyzes the loss. But we are no longer operating under the old rules of British politics, which begs the question, what happens when a populist machine crashes into the immovable wall of reality? Enter Nigel Farage. Instead of congratulating the winner, Farage immediately took to social media, declaring the Gorton and Denton by-election a victory for sectarian voting and, crucially, a victory for cheating. His candidate loses by a comfortable 4,500 votes, and the immediate instinct is to claim the system is rigged. It's a strategy pulled directly from across the Atlantic, a straight lift of the Trump political playbook. Farage pointed fingers at postal voting, recycling claims he made back in 2015 regarding Oldham, and again in 2019 in Peterborough. He cited an organization called Democracy Volunteers, claiming instances of family voting, where family members allegedly watch each other vote in the booths. He then demanded that postal voting be restricted exclusively to the elderly, the infirm, and those abroad. A fascinating demand, considering a massive demographic of Reform UK's own voter base relies heavily on exactly that system. But if the party leader was shouting about fraud, what was the candidate himself saying? Matt Goodwin, the man who was supposed to become Reform's 9th MP, took a different, arguably darker route. He took to X, claiming, "We are losing our dangerous country. Dangerous Muslim sectarianism has emerged. We only have a general election left to save Britain." When asked to explain the loss in interviews, Goodwin refused to admit defeat. Instead, he claimed they had planted a flag in northern England. He blamed his loss on a coalition of Islamists and woke progressives teaming up to dominate the constituency. Not once did he suggest that perhaps the Green Party candidate simply ran a better campaign. Not once did he acknowledge that she was out knocking on doors while he was reportedly dropping out of local hustings, allegedly after demanding private green rooms. Not once did he suggest that perhaps the Green Party candidate simply ran a better campaign. Not once did he acknowledge that she was out knocking on doors while he was reportedly dropping out of local hustings, allegedly after demanding private green rooms. It leaves us wondering, when does a political strategy stop being about winning over the public and start being entirely about dividing them? And then comes the absolute cherry on top of this political meltdown. As Farage cried cheating and Goodwin warned of the collapse of Britain, Reform's own party chairman, Dr. David Bull, went on national television and completely contradicted both of them. When asked by the BBC if the alleged family voting actually affected the outcome, Dr. Bull admitted, "To be honest, it probably didn't make a difference." He dismissed the idea of challenging the result, suggesting everyone had been up all night and needed to calm down. 3 different stories, 3 different narratives, all from the same party, on the exact same night, about the exact same election. This isn't the unified front of a government in waiting. It's a fractured movement, struggling to process rejection. For a party that wraps itself in the flag and constantly invokes the will of the people, the reaction to Gorton and Denton is incredibly revealing, because it turns out the will of the people is only celebrated when Reform wins. When they lose, suddenly democracy itself is broken. If this is how they handle a by-election defeat, what happens on the national stage when the stakes are even higher? Are we witnessing a temporary setback, or the moment the populist mask finally slipped? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have not watched this important video about this topic and do not have complete information, watch this video about Rupert Lowe versus Nigel Farage in Restore Britain versus Reform, UK. Link is in description.